welcome to Local Edition. I'm Leslie Leyton. The county's first year-round homeless shelter is now open, but it happens just as the problem appears to be growing in our county. And at issue, the difficulty of balancing the sensitivity to the homeless population with the rest of the population at large. With us now, Orange County Supervisor Todd Spitzer to talk about this issue. Welcome.
Thanks, Leslie.
You have been very active in trying to find solutions and trying to do this delicate balance with all of the population.
Yeah, I mean, not just me. I mean, the entire Board of Supervisors is deeply committed to this. The Kramer, the bridges at Kramer, and I'd like to talk about the name in a few minutes, at 1000 North Kramer. So people get a visual on it. It is literally where the on-ramp is for the 91 westbound at Kramer. So it's in the light industrial area, but across the riverbed are homes. And so it's in a place we try to balance the ability to serve the homeless, but also respect the continuity of the community.
People want there to be shelters. They want to get the people off the street somehow,
They
but
say
they
that.
don't want
They
it to
say
happen
that.
anywhere near where they live.
It's like jails, right? It's always not in my backyard. So, and this issue is front and center in the county. I mean, we've always had homeless. We always knew we had thousands of people living on our street every single night. The difference now is that the tents are right immediately adjacent to the 57 freeway, like between Orangewood and Catella, right next to Angel Stadium, right near the Honda Center. And so people are seeing front and center every day. They're reminded that we have a serious homeless problem in Orange County.
Why has that particular homeless population grown so much recently?
I think it's a combination.
And why is it still there?
Well, the average price of a home today, the average income to even be in the affordability index for a home in Orange County, or I think even rent, is like $85,000. The reforms with our state prison systems has forced more parolees and others out of our jails where we used to house them for longer periods of time, and now they're back on the streets. So they need housing, and they have a very hard time getting jobs and finding housing. So you have a blend of your probably like traditional homeless, now all mixed in with a more criminal element of the homeless. And the riverbed has become a magnet because we opened up a shelter in Santa Ana, and we have 400 beds there. So we have beds available. We have the armories during inclement weather in Santa Ana and Fullerton, so we have beds available during those periods of time. But a lot of the homeless don't want to use these facilities because they don't want people to tell them how they have to behave. And a lot of them have drug addictions, and so they want to be able to use their drugs freely and openly, and they don't want to have to comply with any rules.
Well, we want to talk about the shelter that just opened and the purpose that it will serve, but what do you do about a community that really kind of likes, that is their community, they like it there?
Well,
how do you balance the safety of the rest of the community and the needs of the homeless population, whose responsibility is?
I know, and I think, you know, the Board of Supervisors, we are kind of the judges of that, in the sense that when we come up and we impose restrictions, hey, you can't live on a river, especially when we had the rains that we did and the river rose. I mean, people could get killed, right? Because they're living under the bridges. It's like, you can't be there, it's not safe. And oh, by the way, the people that go to games at Angel Stadium and other places, they have a right to be in those parking lots and have their tailgate parties and barbecue and not feel like 20 feet away they're gonna get assaulted or accosted by somebody who needs money for their next meal. So in terms of a balance, we're trying to be socially responsible and help the homeless. At the same time, it is a public safety issue. Now, the community has a right to say, hey, wait a minute. They have no right to live there. They're trespassing. That's a bike trail. That's a riverbed, and they shouldn't be there. And my argument back to that is, let's get some beds on board so we can put people in places. And then number two, we don't have enough beds to deal with this problem today. If we don't have them congregated in one area, they will spread out. They gotta go somewhere. They're gonna be all in our cities. So it's not a good answer, but at least they're concentrated in one place.
You know, other cities in Ontario tried to provide an area, an alternative for homeless people to go, so they still could have the resources, a shower, a meal, a community. It didn't go well necessarily in Ontario, but has the county considered providing services like that?
So we have that. That's kind of what we have at the courtyard in Santa Ana. That's what the armories are. So they get fed and they have a shower.
But the numbers seem to be more limited there compared to
There are, but we have space.
Population.
That's the point. See, we have to break this down. So let's talk about Kramer for a second. Kramer is not a warehouse. The courtyard is hey, this is a place to lay down your head. You have a mat and get a meal and get a shower, okay? And feel safe because you're living on the streets. Kramer is by reservation. It's by referral. It's for people who say, you know, I'm addicted to heroin or methamphetamine and I need to stop this lifestyle. I need to get into permanent housing. I need to get a job.
How do they get?
All those services are at Kramer.
Because there's thousands of people who are homeless.
They're all referred.
But these are people who have been working one-on-one on the streets have identified as people who want help,
Exactly.
who can be rehabilitated, who really would make good use of
This population for Kramer, 100 at a time, it will be 200. We opened up phase 1, it will be 200 in about 6 months. We're hoping, keep my fingers crossed. So 200 will go churn at a time with all those intensive services. And the idea then is once they get stabilized and they're motivated. I mean, look, I don't know anybody whose behavior has changed from a human point of view until they want to change themselves. I mean, the government can't come in and say, you're going to be changed. I mean, that's what we have, jails and prisons. And those haven't necessarily been all that successful, except isolating people.
It seems that's the only way a shelter is going to work if it's full of people who want to get the help. Because if there's other people trying to bring you down, trying to bring themselves down, it's really a difficult environment.
Absolutely. So that's what Kramer's designed
So
to
this
be.
is a special place as far as people who are really hopefully transitioning and gaining the resources available at this shelter.
This is a life-changing potential facility. This is to change your life.
So your challenge is to find the different kinds of resources, shelters for the different kinds of needs of the homeless people out there.
Well, okay, so we clearly know we need a place to warehouse people. And I went to San Antonio, Texas. San Antonio is kind of the model in the nation, and they have that. They have 800 people living under a tent, rooms and all that, and all it is a warehouse, okay? And Kramer's not that, but we need to replicate Kramer throughout Orange County. So one of my messages when we unveiled Kramer was this: the reason we named it the Bridges at Kramer. This is about the bridge for people to transition into a different life, right? But it's also the bridge back to the community for me and the other politicians to say the community. We have all got to take collective ownership of this problem or we will never solve it. So if we can't build support in other communities, then we'll never build another shelter. So Anaheim stepped forward. We had a plan in Santa Ana and it fell through because once community opposition came out, Santa Ana City Council kind of freaked. But I think they're starting to see, and especially if Kramer is successful, that we can do this in other places. We have to have a central located shelter like Kramer.
So your message is, would you rather have shelters with people who are wanting to transition back to what we might consider a normal life? Or would you rather have people setting up shop under the big A, close to your home?
Well, yeah. Is that the question you're asking? Is that the question we're going to present to the community?
Present to the community.
I
which
would say
would you
this.
rather
My
have?
cousin, Patsy, is a paranoid schizophrenic. She has an apartment. She can take care of herself. But she will, as long as if she doesn't take her medication, she'll never be stable, okay? She's a paranoid schizophrenic. And nothing's going to fix that. And so there are people who have terrible mental illnesses. They have drug and alcohol addictions, right? And they're never going to leave the street. Those are the really, really difficult populations. My point is, let's really focus on the people, that population, maybe the 30 to 40%, that we can really help and fix and get them off the streets. And then we really need to put all those resources in helping the people that are going to be the most difficult.
Nice talking to you about this today. Let's talk about the safety issue for the homeless population and the rest of us next time.
You got it.
Todd Spitzer, nice to have you here.
Thanks,
Glad you
Leslie.
could join us too. I'm Leslie Leyton.